Welcome to MalcolmPresents.com and Phil Margo, The Lion Roars. The reason we have The Lion Roars because as everybody knows who listens to this show, Phil's group, The Tokens, their mega song is The Lion Sleeps Tonight, but Phil Margo no longer is sleeping. He is roaring. Anyway, greetings, Phil. How you doing?
I'm okay. 74 years ago, yesterday, I woke up in the morning at my house at 2948 Brighton First Street. I had my own bedroom, and I walked from my bedroom towards the bathroom. In order to get to the bathroom, I had to pass by my parents' bedroom, which the door was open, and Bernice Berman, the next door neighbor, was sleeping in my parents' bed. So I was a little surprised, and I asked, and I said, "Where's my mommy and daddy?" And they said, "They went to pick up your new brother."
Well, you knew your mother was expecting, right?
I was only 5. I didn't know about that stuff, you know. I
You
don't
know,
remember them saying anything. And never, you know, I guess I can't remember my mother pregnant with my brother. I remember my mother pregnant with my sister, but I was 13 years at the time. But, you know, back then I was a 5-year-old kid. I was like in kindergarten, you know. What did I know?
So that was a complete surprise to you then?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they never said Bernice Berman was going to be in the bed if, you know, they didn't. Now, they could have, it's my memory that might be, but that's what I remember.
Right, okay,
There
well,
could
that's
have been
important
more,
thing, yeah.
I remember they went to the hospital to pick up your new baby brother. And from then on, I had a baby brother. Once he got past the crib stage, my bedroom was a shared bedroom for up until I was in high school. Then we got a convertible sofa and I slept on that. All my clothes were in the bedroom that my brother and I shared, but I made more room, made it more comfortable by sleeping in the convertible bed.
Right.
You know, every night I would open up the bed. So, which gave me a chance to watch television later then, because the television was in the living room.
Yeah, when there was only one television in the house.
Yes, there was only one television, and but that television was like especially made. My uncle knew this guy who made television sets, and they bought 2 of them, so they got a special deal. It was a 21-inch screen.
21 inches?
The console, yeah. This was not then. We didn't have a TV in 47.
Oh.
We didn't get our television until 48, 49. And then in 50, I think we got the bigger one. You know, the first television was a Motorola 7-inch screen. And the second one was an Admiral 12-inch screen, which Milty, the guy at the television store, converted it into a 14-inch screen. You know, and then we had the 21-inch screen, which was
we had a 10-inch RCA, and we used to put like a magnifying glass in front of it.
Right. No. Yeah, I remember. No, it was like a big. Yeah. That made it look bigger. Yes, but and from then on, I had a baby brother, and
his name was Mitchell.
His name was Mitchell Stewart Margulies. My family hadn't changed the name yet, and growing up, he was a pleasure. I mean, all my friends liked him. We invited him to come with us on things. Normally, when a parent would say, "Take your brother along," you know, they didn't have to. My friends wanted him to come along, you know. It was that much fun to be with. You know, he was smart. He was musical. I knew he was musical right away. because he listened to music the way I did, when he got old enough. And we did all kinds of things. We called a money siege, where we did everything we could to make money so we could buy a Lionel set of electric trains from Lionel in New York City. And we reached our goal. We babysat, we did chores, we did everything we had to do to earn money to buy the electric trains, which I still have.
That should be worth
I still have them.
Could be worth a fortune now.
I don't know. Let my family sell it. Anyway, so, and we did all kinds of things. I mean, I took them wherever I could take them, I took them. It was not a big deal. And we used to do all kinds of stuff.
So he was your best friend, in essence.
So he was, he was 5 years younger than me, so we were in different stratas, but we got along great. I got along great with my sister too. I mean, we didn't have that family rivalry bullshit at all, ever, as growing up. I think the example was my parents, and my other relatives. I mean, I only saw, from all the relatives I had, and I remember my grandpa, or my mother's father, who died unfortunately very young. He was terrific. He died in 1948, so I had the pleasure of spending 6 years with him. Well, actually, 3 cognizant years. Right. But I remember he used to take me. In fact, next time I have a picture of him carrying me on the shoulder, he used to take me to this little stand underneath where the subway was, the Ocean Parkway stop. And he used to buy me a trinket. He bought me a little airplane. He bought me, and of course I was very into airplanes, because I remember when I got that airplane when they were celebrating the victory over Japan, that Bernie Eichenbaum gave me. So that was my first airplane. And he would, he'd take us to the beach. Mitch would come along. And I just remember him being a pleasure and agreeable and not bratty at all. No attitudes, no bullshit, no take them out of the restaurants, none of that, And as time went on, I recognized how talented he was. He was taking piano lessons, and I would listen in every once in a while. He actually was taking piano lessons from the woman who we introduced to my Hebrew teacher, who got married to her. I mean, it was like that kind of that's the kind of world I grew up in.
It was known as.
It was Evelyn Siegel, and she married Mr. Panich, and she became Evelyn Panich, and he became one of the main rabbis in the country eventually.
It was known as the Shidduch.
Yep, we made that. It was my grandmother was my grandmother and Evelyn Siegel's mom knew each other. So they put it together. They introduced it to her Panich, and she's lovely. Evelyn was a lovely, lovely woman, And so anyway, so when I got to when I was in high school, when I got to the boys' chorus, which we talked about, I think.
Yeah.
And we did the show, we did the first concert, and she asked for volunteers for people to come and sing at the sock hop. I immediately thought I could do it with Mitch. We hadn't sung together yet, but I just had a feeling. And of course, we tried it out, and he took, we did All I Have to Do Is Dream, which we have done every show we ever did as tokens. That was part of our show. And we sang All I Have to Do Is Dream in the gym.
Was that Jimmy Clanton? I give the name for some reason.
Everly Brothers.
Everly Brothers?
Yeah, Jimmy Clanton did Just a Dream.
Just a Dream. Okay.
Just a dream, just a dream. Anyway, so we sang it in front of the kids in the gym, and it made me think that, they came over to us, they applauded us, they said it was great. Girls came over to me, how are you? When did you come to this school? I said, I'm a junior. I've been here for this. This is my third year, and I wasn't anonymous anymore in the school. And that little duet we did, we also sang. I never talk about this. Not only did we do All I Have to Do Is Dream, we did I Wonder Why, by the Dion and the Belmonts. Dun, 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 no, why
I love you like I do.
Little horse. But I sang the bass part and Mitchell did the lead, and it was, and I knew that there was something there. It never struck me like that. And that's when I decided to try to become a musician and work in the Catskills when I graduated high school, which I did.
So you were about 16, 17 at the time?
It was my junior year. So I graduated at 17.
So you're about 16.
59. So I was 16 at the time.
And
the concert was in May. And we sang at sock hop, which was a spring sock hop, in June, early June.
So Mitch was about 12.
Yeah, Mitch was here.
Before his bar mitzvah.
Mitch was, at the time we sang, he was 11.
11.
Right, because I was 16.
And so he was a real prodigy. Yeah,
and he had a great ear for music. He had a great pitch, and that's how we saw. That was our debut, really, at the gym in Lincoln High School in, I think, May or early June of 1958. And I devoted myself to learning how to play the piano, and I couldn't, and the lessons weren't helping because I wasn't learning quick enough. I said I needed to learn how to play songs right away. And they said, you can't, you have to learn chords, you have to learn how to do the scales and all of that. And I just didn't have the stomach for that. So I taught myself, I came up with a way to teach myself piano that wasn't being done, which is now how they do it, basically, with chords and notes. But I managed to bring it off and started a band. Mitchell wasn't in that band because he was still in school.
He was a kid.
Well, and so we played little gigs around Brooklyn. We did Sweet 16s, we did small parties, and we'd make $5-10 a night, which was really, for a kid my age, like you could buy a shirt for $2. You could buy a brand new Paisley shirt. So
Paisley, I remember that on Kings Highway.
Well, yeah. Well, I did it. I did it in a store called Limbo on Brighton Beach Avenue. I also went to Neil's.
Neil's was a big one there.
Neil's, yeah, yes. And when I was in high school, Neil Sedako was there, but I didn't know him because I was as I said, I was anonymous. And Hank was there too, and Jay was there. They all were, but they were upperclassmen. By the time I sang, they were gone.
Yeah, Hank and Jay were the parts of the Tokens with you, right?
Yeah, they graduated. I think they graduated in 56 or 57, 57, I think. Anyway, so because of what happened in the gym, because we sang, and I got braver, and I went to try out for the varsity show, which I got they wanted to give me the lead. I think I said this, but the other kid who was in competition for the lead had been in the program since he started high school. So they couldn't really not give him the lead. So they gave me a part, which was fun. I kept telling I show you a picture of it. I'll do it next time. Of me, because they took a picture of me, which made the yearbook of me on stage. That's the effect I had with my little part. You know, I played the part of the guy who keeps coming in and saying, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. And they never listen to me, you know, and I had the key to the whole thing and nobody, and then finally I said, you know what I mean?
Well, when did you hook up with Mitch, and when did he join the Tokens and become a regular part of it?
Well, what happened was when I got back from the mountains, you know, I was playing a band in the Catskills. My drummer's father won the lottery. He actually won it 2 months in a row, which is amazing. And Mike, who was my drummer, went off to college. You know, his father had, I don't know how much the lottery was back then, but it was certainly $100 grand or something like that, which plenty of money. I mean, school wasn't that expensive back in 1959. And so he went off to college. I never knew what happened to him after that. And we had to find a new drummer.
Well, Mike, if you're listening to the show, give Phil a call.
Yeah.
Same number.
Yeah, well, I don't know, who knows anyway. You don't
Just contact me at malcolmpresents@gmail.
There were the band I started had Mike Agona, Barry Kahn, and Mel Present.
Mel Present, he lived in Seagate?
Yes.
And he had a sister, Beverly Present?
Yes, and his father was Bill.
Okay, I don't know the father, I know the sister.
Bill used to go on the talk, he was a radio talk guy, you know, so he was well contacted. So when we got with the band together and we started playing, and we wanted to work in the Catskills in '59, when I graduated, we all graduated. Bill got us a couple of auditions, in which one of them we were hired, you know, and we were hired to play in the band in the summer. And when we got back and Mike Agona went off to college, I got involved with, as I said, with Lenny Budnick, and Lenny introduced me to Hank, who was in a group called Darrell and the Oxfords. They did a song called Picture in My Wallet. It wasn't a big hit, but it made some noise. So Hank's manager and he wanted to get involved with other talent, and they thought Mitchell and I had some talent. And we did this demo of Chopsticks, rock and roll Chopsticks. I can't find the demo now. I don't know where it is, but no one was particularly interested. And that was going to be that. I was starting work on Wall Street. Mitchell was still in school, Lincoln. We lived across the street. And then the last meeting that Hank and I had and were turned down, he asked me if I ever wrote before. I said, no, I never wrote, you know. He said, well, let's get together and write a song or two. So I said, okay. And Mitch was in and around the house. So he was hanging out while we were writing, and he was singing along. And we came up with this riff, dom doobie dom, whoa. And Mitchell took the higher part, and it sounded great. And Hank said, that you sing too? And Mitch said, yes, I do. So that was the background part for a song called It's Imagination, which we eventually wrote and became Tonight I Fell in Love, which was our first chart record. It was a top 15 hit. And so that's how Mitch was in the group, because he was there and he could sing. And he had a nice sound to the group. He added a youth sound, you know. Don't forget, back then, young girls were buying records. You know, your audience was teenage girls. So Mitch was perfect. You know, and if you see the picture of us when we first started, I should really show it to you.
Well, do it the next time.
All right.
But I remember, you know, I met Mitch, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
It's on our web. It's on the Tokens website, tokens.com. Anybody could get on there. You could see all kinds of stuff, videos we did, and the original pictures, which were taken in 1960 or 61, I think. And it's still my favorite picture of us. We look great. We
Listen,
really do.
I remember Mitch again about 10 years ago. So he was like, in his early 60s. He had this wild hair, almost like Harpo Marx.
Yeah, well, yeah, he there was, I kind of got him into the business, and I got him into the producing business. He was in high school when we were producing records, so he wasn't there a lot. But once he graduated, he decided not to go to school, not to go to college, and which was very disappointing. I thought he should have, and he got more involved in the business, and it led to some things that weren't too great, but it led to him meeting women. Some of them were really terrific, and some of them were not.
As we all have.
And I'm not going to go through that, but he's the one who decided, like when I was in the business, when I got into we didn't get into this part of my life yet, but as a coming attraction, I got into television and I got into management because, well, we were very successful as producers. We had 5 records on the charts at once, 2 in the top 10. And our percentage was 1.89 of the gross income of the record industry. We were the second most successful producers in that period, according to Billboard, right? And we didn't realize that Hank was going around bad-mouthing us and telling everybody that we didn't do anything, that he did all the work, and he was an outside guy. So he destroyed our reputation. Then he quit.
Yeah, you went through that the last show, I think. Yeah.
Totally right. So I don't know, and so we had to do a lot of shuffling, and the shuffling eventually led me to getting involved, doing a skateboard album and coming out here and running into Robert Guillaume, which turned out to be, you see, I think I mentioned this before, but it's worth repeating again. Black Lives Matter is not just a term to me. Black lives were very important in my life, very important. I mean, specifically to me. Solomon Linda wrote the melody of the Lions of Wimoweh, okay? I met Ronnie Mack and the Chiffons, Sylvia, Judy, Pat, and Barbara. Black group, Black manager. And then in my act 3, I met Robert Guillaume. So my life's 3 acts were very important. The Lion Sleeps Tonight, He's So Fine, and Robert Guillaume, Benson, and Soap, which led me to writing movies and television.
By the way, did you ever know a group called the Cookies?
Yes, of course. We did some recording with them.
Yeah, because Margaret, I think the younger sister, I remember Margaret and Dorothy. They lived on my block on 36th Street in Coney Island.
They also sang background on a lot of records too.
Yeah, Margaret always used to sing the Star Spangled Banner, because she was in the same grade as me, so she always sang the Star Spangled Banner in any of the public school things in high school, and Mark Twain. But anyway.
And then, so anyway, why do I have this? So anyway, so we came out here. Mitch wasn't interested in doing anything with Robert and stuff, so he came out here and wrote, and I kind of gave him a salary. And then he put the group back together. I wasn't in it when he did it,
Yeah.
but he started working. And finally he came to me, he said, look, if you work with us, we're more official. We have more of us. So he was responsible for doing that. He did that, you know. And I was very grateful because it was like a whole second run, a tremendous run. And we got to work all over and work. We didn't work much when we first had the hit because there was nowhere to work, you know, for a group like us. But then when the oldies thing started in the late 80s or middle late 80s, we were in demand. So we would get gigs. We travel all over. And it was kind of interesting, you know. It was like this, it was like part of my second act.
Mm.
Plus the fact that I also was producing movies and writing for television and handling Robert Guillaume. And that, and Robert, well, I don't want to get into that story, but that's what happened. And in my regrets are that Mitch didn't listen to me more.
Which
I
aspect?
A lot of aspects. First of all, I offered him money not to get married. I begged him not to marry this woman. I won't mention names, but I just thought it was uncomfortable. And from that point on, he unfortunately, his choices were rather imperfect. That's all I can say. I don't want to. I don't want to even get specific about it, but
You don't get specific about it.
and either and and I mean things like he was in the army. Okay, he had to go into the army. We had some problems, and he had to go into the army. He was in the regular army. He was a terrific soldier, which is you'd never believe it, but he was terrific at it, and he knew how to be a soldier. He knew how to run it. And he couldn't run his life, but he was able to run that where he got himself in tight with everyone in the base. And he wound up with all kinds of perks. He wound up in the band, okay, and going outside and doing gigs and still singing. So when he came back, he you know, and he would, and when he would, and he got to a point where his direct superior would give him leave whenever he wanted to come join us on gigs.
Wow.
You know. So
what years were this?
Well, I don't know, in the late 60s.
So we were just well, we were still in Vietnam then, so he wasn't shipped overseas.
No, he wasn't. He was not shipped overseas. I mean, he made his feelings known about that. And although they never went after him for it, they accepted it. And they, of course, he had made enough of a impression on the people at the base so that he was able to pretty much do what he needed to do.
Where was he stationed? Fort Dix, New Jersey?
I don't remember where he was. No, he wasn't in Fort Dix. He was somewhere else. But he used to show up on weekends, you know, because don't forget all the money that we were making, part of it was his.
Yeah.
It never changed. So he had the wherewithal to fly in whenever he felt like it. So if he would go and say, I want to go home this weekend, they said, okay. Now this was after basic, of course.
Yeah.
You know. And so he managed to do something which amazed me, that he made the army his girlfriend. You know, and he'd served his time. He got an early out to go back to school, which he went for a short time and then stopped, which is unfortunate. And again, you know, I had a family of my own. My wife keeps telling me that I did everything I could to protect him and to make him safe. And I still have feelings that maybe I could have done more. I mean, I told him when he got out of the army, he didn't have health insurance. Okay, we had health insurance through SAG, but it would lapse depending on how much money we earned through SAG, you know. And I said, you were in the army, you should have coverage. You were in a National Guard or anything. You had actual RA, regular army.
Yeah.
You should be covered. You should have all of your. And he never did anything about it until he got very ill. Then he first went, and his initial appointment was he was morbidly obese. Okay. And I would tell him, you can't do this. You have to go to the doctor. You have to go to the dentist. His teeth.
Yeah, well,
I mean, he just went sideways, and I never could get him. He finally did go to the VA, and of course they took him in right away. But I think his health deteriorated to the point where, and I didn't know for sure because he never said that he had any heart problems, but I can't see how his weight wasn't affecting him.
Was he a smoker?
Well, he's not cigarettes.
Oh.
But still, smoke is smoke.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, the important thing, you can't, obviously you cannot control another person, and you did the best you can, but you have such great memories.
Yeah, I mean, and not a day goes by do I not think of a song he wrote that I just sing over in my mind, you know, or things that we did, you know, and I miss him. I mean, there's no question about it. You know, I miss him every day.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I do another show with your sister, Maxine, and she also has some very pleasant memories. And same sentiments. Yeah. They miss him. So, I mean, you guys were a close family.
The only unpleasant memories was what he did to himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if he would have just listened once. I said this story, but it's worth repeating. When at some point in the late 60s, our accountant gave us the good news that he had been saving our tax refunds for the last 3-4 years, and there was a chunk of money that we were entitled to that we could get just by filing for it, right? And that money, and don't forget, Mitch had, during this period, he was in the army, he had no real expenses, and he had earned money already sitting in his bank account. Yeah. And now they tell us that we have this money, which was enough to put a down payment on a house, right? For the first time I could buy a house. So I found this wonderful house in Suffolk, and I just loved it. I still love it. I still miss it. And so when Mitch got out of the army, he wanted to buy a house too. And he was getting married, or he was married. I'm not sure of the dates, but so he asked us if we could help him find a house up where we lived in Suffolk Park. And the realtor who worked with us and knew what we wanted found this wonderful house for him. I mean, it was a split, you know, an acre of land. I had half an acre. Finished everything, pool, finished freshly laid sod on the ground on the whole acre of land. I mean, and the guy who was going to sell was in tax trouble, so they needed to make a quick sale. The cost would have been 32 grand, right?
Yeah, those days that was big, yeah.
Cash, okay. Well, there was this discrepancy about the color of one of the rooms, and they turned it into, no, we're not going to buy the house. And we, if I had a few extra bucks, I would have bought the house to resell, but I didn't, you know? So he didn't buy the house. If he would have bought that house, his whole life would have been different.
Well, yeah.
When things went sour for us, first of all, he bought a house that was way out of his budget, way out of his means, spent a fortune fixing it, and spent all his money fixing this house that was it was the most expensive house on the block, in the area. And it was on the top of a hill. So you had to get out there in the snow. It was like, forget about it. There were so many things wrong with that house. And I warned him and warned him. I said, don't do this. And he would have bought it, that first house. He would have owned it outright. He would have had no problem. He wouldn't have had to move into the city. He wouldn't have had to do anything. He could have stayed there.
And anyway, Phil, let's keep with the good memories of Mitch, which you have many of. But
yes, because it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because I saw, it's like in Willy Wonka when he says, stop, don't, and they wind up in the blueberry juice.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And I knew it. I saw it happening.
But anyway, we've run out of time.
Well,
and
we eventually do.
Yeah,
but I didn't mean to turn this anyway.
No, but it was great, and you were so lucky to have a brother like that and share so many things. Actually, share with your sister there.
The only thing I regret is the fact that he should have been around longer.
Yeah.
That's my regret.
Well, yes, sometimes but you appreciated him when he was here, because a lot of people.
Of course I did. I still think of him every day and think of the things he wrote and the things we did.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't appreciate their loved ones until the loved one is gone. You were lucky enough to have a good life together while he was around. And on that note, Phil, we'll pick up where your career continues on next week.
Happy day.
Happy to have a good Memorial Day.
Yes, you too. Be safe.
Okay, speak to you later. Bye.